She's with someone else, and you're here, wondering what went wrong, replaying every text, every night, every word you said that you wish you could take back. It's a pain most won't admit, watching the woman you gave everything to smile in someone else's arms like you never existed. Comment below, "I won't break. I rebuild." Because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you live forever. Number 1, focus on yourself. You wake up every day and the first thing that hits you is that aching feeling in your chest, that sense of loss, of emptiness, like a part of your identity has been stolen overnight, and all that's left is a man staring blankly at the ceiling, questioning everything. You check your phone, hoping there's a message, a hint that she still thinks about you, a missed call, a slip-up, something, anything that tells you you still matter. But there's nothing. She's gone, and worse, she's replaced you. And now, you feel disposable, like everything you poured into her meant absolutely nothing. You gave her your love, your loyalty, your time, your peace. You sacrificed your sleep for late-night phone calls. You cancelled plans to make her feel prioritized. You stopped talking to friends, paused on your personal goals, skipped workouts, chased her emotional storms trying to be her safe place, and yet she walked away without hesitation. Now you're left looking in the mirror, unrecognizable, not because you changed, but because you forgot who the hell you were before she came along. You stopped focusing on yourself, and that's the exact moment you lost her, not because you were too weak, but because you handed over the keys to your power and let her drive. And now you're angry, confused, bitter even, because she didn't just leave, she downgraded. But in her mind, she upgraded, not in quality, but in control. She now has someone new to validate her worth, while you're sitting here trying to make sense of why your love wasn't enough. Here's the truth no one tells you. Love isn't enough when you abandon yourself. She didn't walk away because you loved her too little. She left because you loved her too much and yourself too little. You made her your center. You orbit around her. You sacrificed your vision, your progress, your discipline. And the second she felt that, she lost respect. Because deep down, women don't want to lead. They want to follow a man who leads himself first. You became so obsessed with making her feel like a queen, you stopped behaving like a king. So, how do you fix this? You shift everything back to you. You wake up tomorrow and do something hard, something uncomfortable. Start rebuilding your morning routine. Wake up early, stretch, drink water, read for 20 minutes, journal your thoughts, hit the gym, even if you feel like crying in the locker room. Re-establish your rhythm. Remember who you were before she arrived. Take inventory of your lost passions. Maybe you used to write, design, trade, build, lead, create content. Pick one and give it an hour daily, not for results, for you. Reclaim your territory. Build your body, not for Instagram, but for discipline. Save money, not to flex, but to protect your future. Surround yourself with brothers who hold you accountable, not friends who feed your escapism. You are the foundation now. There is no savior coming, no magical text from her that will heal the ache. The only rescue is you, dragging your broken heart through 1,000 reps, 100 rejections, sleepless nights, and emotional withdrawal, until one day you wake up and you no longer check your phone for her name. You no longer need her to breathe. And that, my brother, is when she feels it. Not when you text her, not when you post passive-aggressive quotes, but when the air around you shifts, when your presence no longer remembers her. You want to win? Stop waiting. Stop reminiscing. Stop looking for signs. She's gone. Focus on yourself until the version of you that she walked away from no longer exists. And when she tries to come back, it won't even be tempting, Because you've built a life she's no longer qualified to be a part of. That's how you focus on yourself. That's how you win. And as you begin choosing yourself again, when the noise fades, when the silence turns into strength, when your days stop revolving around who left and start building who's arriving, you're going to need something to guide you when the emotions try to pull you back, when the old version of you wants to scroll, text, beg, or wonder again. That's why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint. It's not just a book. It's your emotional armor, your mindset reset, your step-by-step framework for turning heartbreak into high value. This isn't temporary motivation. It's timeless truth. The kind of knowledge you'll come back to for years, because life, love, and loss don't come with instruction manuals. And the best part, once you get it, it's yours forever. No subscriptions, no expiration, just power in your pocket, clarity at your fingertips, and a new chapter waiting to be written. The link is in the comments. Number 2. Indifference is the ultimate weapon. She expects you to fall apart. She expects you to scroll her feed like a junkie chasing his next fix, to replay her last words, to reread her texts at 2 a.m. like some emotional archaeologist trying to decipher where it all went wrong. She expects you to spiral, to lose your appetite, to start messaging her friends, to post sad lyrics and cryptic stories in hopes she'll see them. Because that's what most men do when they're broken. They react. And she feeds on that. Your pain validates her ego. Your desperation reassures her decision. Every like, every call, every apology. You think it's vulnerability, but to her, it's proof she had power. You want to flip the dynamic? Go silent. Not out of spite, but out of transformation. She's not your enemy. She's irrelevant. Indifference is not hate. Hate still cares. Indifference is neutrality. It's the absence of emotional investment. It's looking at her life and realizing it has nothing to do with your purpose. She posts a picture with him. You don't flinch. Not because you're pretending, but because you've upgraded to such a level that her life no longer fits in your frame. You become indifferent when you finally grasp that she's just a person, a human being, flawed, emotional, unpredictable, not a goddess, not a soulmate, not your other half, just someone who once had access to you and lost it. Indifference is power because it disconnects your identity from her approval. It's the mindset that says, I am who I am, with or without you. And the truth is, the moment you stop caring, she starts wondering. The moment your energy pulls away, she begins to question her decision. But this isn't about playing games. It's about rediscovering your self-worth. When you're indifferent, your time becomes sacred. You stop arguing. You stop explaining. You stop defending your value. You don't chase closure because you realize closure is internal. You don't stalk her feed because you're too busy building yours. Indifference grows when your life expands. When your mind is consumed by your next launch, your next book, your next investment, your next physical challenge, you don't have time to react. You're occupied. She starts texting you randomly. You don't even feel the rush. Why? Because you're not that guy anymore. You don't open wounds that already healed. You don't entertain chaos dressed as curiosity. You don't chase people who ran. Indifference is bred in purpose, in pain channeled correctly, in choosing peace over drama, in seeing her not as the one that got away, but the one that showed me I had work to do. You want to kill the version of yourself that crumbles when a woman leaves. Starve him. Starve his tendencies. Starve his weakness. Feed the version of you who keeps showing up, keeps grinding, keeps evolving. She's with someone else. Good. That man is her reward for leaving. But your reward is so much greater. It's the clarity, the drive, the razor-sharp purpose that indifference gives you. When you're truly indifferent, you become dangerous because you're untethered. You no longer move based on her validation. You move based on your mission. That's the energy that makes women panic and men rise. So today, decide, are you still going to let her control your emotional climate, or are you finally going to master the weather? Indifference isn't a phase, it's a lifestyle. It's the sword that cuts the leash. It's the silence that speaks louder than any text. It's the posture that says, I used to need you, now I need nothing, and that makes me unstoppable. Number 3, you win by refusing to play. You don't win by texting her back. You don't win by checking if she still watches your stories. You don't win by wondering who that new guy is, or what he has that you didn't. You don't win by hoping she regrets it, by rehearsing your worth in your head just in case she calls again. You don't win by trying to make her remember. You win by making her irrelevant, not through pretending, not through games, not by becoming someone she might want again, but by becoming the version of you who no longer needs the memory of her approval to feel complete. You win by stepping out of the battlefield entirely and realizing she was never the enemy. Your attachment was. And she was just the mirror showing you where you were still bleeding. Most men lose because they take the bait. She posts a thirst trap, and you like it. She replies to your story with a laughing emoji, and you get excited. She tells you, I miss you, on a random Thursday night, and suddenly you're spiraling. Because she knows you're still playing, and as long as you're still in the game, you're still under her control. She doesn't have to be with you to control you. She just needs to know that you're still watching, still hoping, still wondering, still stuck. And you confirm that with every response, every view, every scroll. She doesn't even have to speak. Your obsession does all the work for her. But when you stop playing, the game collapses. You become the glitch in her matrix. You don't react. You don't validate. You don't rise to her tests. And that confuses her more than any argument ever could. You want real power? Become the man who doesn't engage. You don't compete with the guy she's with now. You don't ask yourself, was he better than me? Because there's no better in chaos. She's not choosing him because he's more. She's choosing him because he's different and most likely temporary. But you're not here to analyze her patterns. You're here to upgrade your own. Refusing to play means cutting off all access points. Block her if you have to. Not out of hate, but out of hunger. Because every time she re-enters your mind, she delays your progress. Every time you explain your worth, you diminish it. Every time you chase clarity, you move further away from closure. The truth is, she doesn't want answers. She wants attention. And if she gets it, even a little, she knows she still owns part of your soul. Refuse. Refuse to make her the main character in your story. Refuse to keep running scenarios in your mind. Refuse to give her even a sentence in your mental dialogue. The man who refuses to play is not weak. He's evolved. He sees through the drama. He doesn't need revenge. He doesn't need apologies. He doesn't need validation. He just disappears into his mission, and suddenly he's untouchable. You become this man by doing what most won't. You start waking up with a plan, not pain. You create routines that anchor you when your emotions want to drift. You journal, train, eat clean, create, execute, and you do it every single day without waiting for a thank you or a check-in. You move in silence, not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because your progress is loud enough. You no longer tell people what you're building. You become the result. She hears about you through mutual friends and feels the chill, because the version of you she played with is gone. And the version you are now wouldn't even look back. You win by removing your emotional signature from her life. You win by becoming untraceable, not digitally, but energetically. When she thinks of you, it no longer stings. It no longer feels like a loss. It feels like a void. An echo of a man who once loved her with everything and then disappeared so completely that she questions if he was ever real. That's how you win. Not by reacting, not by responding, not by proving anything, but by outgrowing the need to be seen by someone who once overlooked you. And here's the most controversial part. You win by being brutally honest with yourself. Stop lying. Stop pretending you're okay if you're not. Sit down and feel the pain. Let it burn. Let it teach. Because once you've felt it all, once you've screamed into the void and still stood tall, you become unshakable. You win when you realize she was never the reward. The reward is who you're becoming because of what she triggered. And you carry that version of you into every room, every deal, every future relationship. Every morning you wake up and realize you're no longer playing her game. You've built a new one she can't join, one that only real ones understand. You don't win her back. You win your power back. And that's the one thing she never wanted you to find. So find it, sharpen it, guard it, and never play again. Number 4. Stop looking for her. Stop looking for her in the streets, in songs, in posts, in profiles, in memories, in strangers' eyes, in patterns, in numbers, in dreams. Stop hoping she's one call away, one apology away, one emotional awakening away from realizing what she lost. She isn't. And even if she does, it won't be the way you imagined. She's not crying in bed thinking about your pain. She's not scrolling through old messages regretting every word she said. She's not checking if you saw her story. She's not plotting a way to fix what she broke. She's moved on, not because she healed faster, but because she was never invested the way you were. That truth may sting, but it's the one that sets you free. You keep looking for her because you're still trying to find yourself through her. You made her your compass, your definition of love, your emotional anchor, and now that she's gone, your identity feels shattered. But she wasn't the answer. She was the distraction. The pain you're feeling isn't because you lost her. It's because you abandoned yourself to keep her. And now that she's gone, you're being forced to confront the silence that was always there under the noise of the relationship. You look for her because it's easier than facing your reflection, easier than taking accountability for the parts of you that let the red flags slide, easier than admitting that maybe you knew she wasn't loyal. Maybe you ignored the signs. Maybe you saw the disrespect, the emotional manipulation, the inconsistency, the games, but stayed anyway. Not because you were weak, but because you were hoping love would change what was broken. It won't, and she won't. You want healing? Stop making her the goal. Healing begins when you stop romanticizing the past and start focusing on the man who was left behind. You keep looking for her because you haven't yet faced the emptiness inside of you that believed she was the missing piece. She wasn't. That missing piece is the man you sacrificed to love her. And now it's your job to rebuild him, brick by brick, discipline by discipline, truth by truth. You stop looking for her when you finally realize she's not the woman you loved. She's the woman who taught you what you must never tolerate again. You don't need closure. You don't need one last talk. You don't need an apology. You need action. You need movement. You need routine. You need hunger. You need a mission. Every time you think of her, redirect that energy into creation. Build a body she can't recognize, a bank account she can't fathom, a mindset she can't manipulate. Create something permanent out of something temporary. Your pain is fuel, not prison. You don't find her in the arms of someone else, and you don't find her in the possibility of one day getting back together. You find yourself by no longer caring if she's watching. You win when she no longer owns your curiosity. You stop looking for her when your focus becomes so intense, so dialed in, so purpose-driven that even the memory of her becomes blurry. Have you ever been so immersed in building something meaningful that hours, days, weeks go by, and suddenly you realize you didn't think of her once? That's the goal. Not fake indifference, not performance, but real transformation. That kind of growth isn't sexy, it's lonely, it's heavy. It requires you to delete photos you swore you'd keep, block numbers you kept memorized, walk past places that once felt like home, and accept that she's not your future. She's your lesson. You stop looking for her when you stop looking backwards. She made her choice. Now make yours, and let that choice be power. Let it be discipline. Let it be a version of you that makes you proud, even if no one ever notices, especially if she never does. Because you don't rise from betrayal by begging. You rise by becoming a man who doesn't need his past to validate his present, by becoming the man who walks into a room and doesn't wonder if she'd like who he is now, but who knows deep in his soul that he loves who he's becoming. That's how you stop looking for her. You look for yourself instead, and this time you don't look away. Number 5, reclaim your value. Reclaiming your value doesn't begin with revenge. It doesn't begin with trying to make her jealous. It begins in silence, in discomfort, in raw moments where you stare into the void of your own reflection and admit that somewhere along the line, you let yourself go. Not your appearance, not your job, not your social life, but the part of you that knew exactly who you were when no one else was watching. The truth is brutal. You gave her power she didn't earn. You allowed her to shape your self-worth. You handed over your confidence and made her responsible for your validation. And now that she's gone, you feel worthless not because you are, but because you built your identity around her attention. That's the kind of mistake no man ever admits out loud, but every broken one has lived. She didn't destroy you. You abandoned your value and waited for her to protect it. And now, in the aftermath, you feel small, inadequate, defeated, because every voice in your head tells you she upgraded, that he's better, that you weren't enough. But let me tell you the truth she'll never say. She didn't leave because you weren't enough. She left because you didn't believe you were. Women don't abandon power, they abandon comfort. She stopped respecting you the moment you stopped respecting yourself. She didn't just lose interest. She stopped seeing you as a man she could look up to. You begged, you pleaded, you compromised. You sacrificed your standards to keep her. You let her behavior slide because you were too scared to lose her. But in doing so, you lost yourself. You lost the fire, the edge, the conviction. You traded your boundaries for temporary peace, your values for attention, your purpose for proximity. And now you want her back, not because she's the one, but because you think her coming back will restore your confidence. But it won't, because your value isn't returned through her, it's reclaimed through pain, process, and precision. You reclaim your value by looking at every decision you made and owning it. No more blame, no more victimhood, just raw, ruthless truth. Write it down, all of it, what you tolerated, what you allowed, the ways you bent your rules to keep her happy, the ways you performed instead of led. Then ask yourself, would the man you admire most do what you did? If the answer is no, then that's your wake-up call. Not to hate her, but to change you. You reclaim your value by holding the line again, by refusing to chase people who walk away, by building habits so sharp, so consistent, so disciplined that your confidence doesn't come from compliments, it comes from completion. Finish what you start. Train harder, eat cleaner, speak less, execute more, read every day, write your thoughts down, build your bank account, heal in silence, return to your edge. You reclaim your value by removing her pedestal and standing on your own. She is not your purpose. She is not your validation. She is not your God. She is a person, a flawed one, just like you. And her decision to leave is not a measurement of your worth. It's a reflection of what you allowed. Take that personally, not as pain, but as power. Because once you accept that you lost her by losing your frame, you now have permission to never lose it again. From this day forward, Every decision you make must serve your higher self. No more reacting emotionally. No more venting to people who don't live your life. No more pretending you're fine when you're crumbling. Stand up, say it out loud. I was the prize. She lost me. Not out of ego, but out of truth. Because when you reclaim your value, you stop negotiating with people who bring nothing to your table. You stop accepting breadcrumb affection. You stop explaining your standards. You walk differently. You speak less, but it lands more. You no longer need her to regret leaving, because you've already moved on to a reality so powerful, so aligned, so focused, that her name no longer echoes in your mind. You are no longer trying to get her back. You're trying to get yourself back, and not the version that existed when she met you, but the version she never had the capacity to handle. That's who you become. And when she sees it, if she ever does, it won't be attraction she feels. It'll be loss, because she'll realize the version of you she ran from is now the version she could never reach. You don't reclaim your value by being wanted again. You reclaim it by becoming undeniable, even if no one claps, especially if she never does, because your value isn't visible to everyone. It's only visible to those on your level, and she proved she wasn't. So stop waiting for recognition and start building your legacy, quietly, relentlessly, with focus so deep it frightens people, with hunger so raw it consumes distraction. That's how you reclaim your value, not by screaming your worth, but by living it so clearly, so unapologetically, that the world adjusts or gets out of your way. Number 6. Become so focused she feels forgotten. There's a version of you that still waits, still wonders, still checks in silence, still tries to convince yourself that she'll wake up one day and realize she made the biggest mistake of her life. But let me tell you something that might hurt before it heals. The day she walked away, she wasn't thinking about your feelings, your pain, your loyalty, or your memories. She was thinking about herself, her impulses, her validation, her next move, and whether or not you'd make it easy to replace you. And most men crumble under that truth because we've been trained to believe that love means sacrifice, that loyalty guarantees respect, that giving your all will be rewarded with forever. But that's not the world we live in anymore, especially not when you're dealing with someone who never truly saw your worth in the first place. And now you're here with pieces of yourself scattered across her Instagram timeline, trying to act unbothered while quietly hoping she'll notice that you're still hurting, still watching, still loyal to a ghost. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If she still knows you care, she still knows she controls you. And that's exactly why your focus is your final form of power. Because when a man becomes so engulfed in his own mission, so locked into his own evolution, so immersed in daily execution, that he literally forgets to care, forgets to check, forgets to wonder. That is when she feels the cold she tried to escape. And it isn't forced. It isn't calculated. It's not a strategy to make her regret. It's real, and it's irreversible. And you reach that level not by pretending to be okay, but by becoming a man so busy building his legacy that he genuinely doesn't have the bandwidth to entertain anything that isn't purpose, that isn't profit, that isn't aligned. And it starts with discipline, not desire. Because desire will have you checking her profile in secret, but discipline will have you building assets, burning fat, learning skills, creating value, expanding your income, upgrading your wardrobe, tightening your circle, mastering your calendar, and removing anything and anyone that interrupts your frequency. And no, it won't feel good at first. Building never does. But that's the price of freedom, because you don't heal by hoping she comes back. You heal by rising so high that her name no longer belongs in your vocabulary. And this transformation is not about revenge. It's about replacement. Not of her, but of the weak version of yourself who once needed her to feel complete. And the deeper you go into your focus, the more you realize how small she becomes, how loud her silence used to be, how irrelevant her attention actually was. Because when you evolve into a man who wakes up with purpose in his chest, goals in his mind, pressure in his routine, and fire in his soul, the woman who left you behind no longer feels like a loss. She feels like a past lesson that taught you how to choose yourself louder, how to love yourself harder, how to walk alone without collapsing, and how to turn heartbreak into horsepower. And when you're operating at that level, you don't need closure. You don't need an apology. You don't need validation. You need results. You need records broken. You need new connections. You need real conversations. You need your time respected, your presence paid for, your ideas executed, and the kind of lifestyle that no longer fits the version of her that left. And it's in that zone where the grind becomes your therapy, the progress becomes your peace, the silence becomes your standard. That she feels it. She feels the weight of your absence, the finality of your detachment, the intimidation of your success, the distance in your eyes if you ever cross paths again, and she'll test the waters eventually. They always do, with a message, a memory, a breadcrumb. But you'll be too far gone to take the bait, because you've outgrown the playground, you've leveled up beyond her reach, and now you're chasing moments that can't be faked, peace that can't be disturbed, and impact that can't be denied. And the most beautiful part of this journey is that by the time she realizes you're gone for real, you're already standing in a life she no longer qualifies for, surrounded by opportunities she couldn't imagine, attracting women who see your value without needing to be convinced. And none of it came from bitterness. None of it came from pretending. All of it came from choosing to build when most would have broken. And if you want to feel that level of focus, that level of power, that level of emotional liberation, it starts right now, not tomorrow, not when she texts, not when you feel ready. Now, by turning your phone off, turning your pain into fuel, turning your silence into systems, and turning your routine into the religion that saves you. Because the man who wins isn't the one who gets her back. It's the one who forgets she left, not out of amnesia, but because he created a life so powerful, so demanding, so unapologetically evolved, that her name became too small to carry forward. If you're tired of watching your potential rot in the rearview mirror of someone who didn't deserve your loyalty, then it's time you stop begging for closure and start rewriting your story. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint isn't just another ebook. It's your personal guide out of emotional slavery and into full control of your peace, power, and future. It's everything you were never taught about women, detachment, self-worth, and purpose, laid out for men who are done bleeding quietly and ready to dominate silently. It's linked in the comments, and it's yours forever, because this level of clarity shouldn't be rented. If you're done wasting years chasing ghosts, comment, "I choose peace over pain," like this video, and subscribe so more men can find this truth before it's too late.